Hello, everybody. We excited to be here this evening. Please kindly confirm if you can hear me with the use of your favorite emojis. Can I see some emojis? Confirm if you can hear me. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yes. So, good evening, everybody, once again. My name is Peter Arwan Yakubu, and I will be your moderator for today, together with David. So it's my pleasure to officially welcome you to this special International Youth Day celebration. Can I see some emojis? Let's put some emojis together. Let's clap together. Yes. So today provides us with an opportunity to reflect on the role young people play in shaping our societies, strengthening partnerships, advancing technology, and contributing meaningfully to sustainable development. Our theme, Youth Advancing Multilateral Cooperation Through Technology and Partnerships, speaks directly to the need for young people to move beyond being beneficiaries of development to becoming active contributors, innovators, collaborators, and leaders. Now, to officially welcome us today to today's program, I would like to invite the network coordinator of SDSN Youth Nigeria in the person of Oluwatoyin Odunlana to deliver the opening remarks. Please, with the heavy clap using your emojis, will you please welcome the network youth coordinator? Toyin, over to you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy International Youth Day once again. It's our pleasure to welcome you all to today's program. And firstly, I'd like to sincerely thank everyone for joining us today from different locations and taking their time out to be part of this program today. Also recognizing our guests, partners, leaders, and facilitators, and most importantly, all the young persons joining us today. As a network, we believe that young people should not only be included in conversations about the future, but they should also have a seat at the table. And today's theme on youth advancing multilateral cooperation through technology and partnerships reinforces that. And I want to encourage everyone to actively participate, share your perspectives, and if you have anyone that has not joined in yet, please kindly invite them to join in so they don't miss out on the conversation. And most importantly, enjoy the conversations you'll be having today. Welcome once again and happy International Youth Day to you all. Thank you all very much. Back to you, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that amazing welcoming speech. Please, can we put our hands together for Tony? So, moving on, we have our moving on next, we will be going to the keynote session. Unfortunately, the speaker is yet to be here, but permit me to read his bio, which goes this. Alabi Opeyemi Olamide is the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor of Lagos State on Youth, where he leads initiatives focused on youth development, civic engagement, political participation, and inclusive leadership. He also serves as chairman of the Forum of Special Advisors and Senior Special Assistants on Youth to Southwest Governors. He is the convener of the Youth Mobilization Network and has held strategic leadership roles in youth mobilization, governance, and political advocacy, including within the Presidential Campaign Councils and the ICC Youth Wing Campaign Council. He previously served as Special Advisor on Youth Development to the chairman of IFACO, Ijaye local government, a computer science graduate and technology practitioner. Opeyemi is passionate about digital empowerment, sustainable development, grassroots leadership, and creating meaningful opportunities for young people to participate in the governance and shape their communities. Please, with this, permit me to welcome Alabi Opeyemi Olamide in absence. Let's welcome him with our emojis, please. Moving forward, I would like to go over to the general session, which come Mbekana to the stage. Over to you, Mbekana.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Peter, sorry, there was a break in communication. Please, can you just repeat what you said? I just heard my name.
Yes, you were supposed to take the general session, but then I just got notified that our speaker, Mr. Alabi Opeyemi, has just joined the call. So if it's okay, Mr. Alabi, are you ready to take on the call, sir? Kindly confirm if you can hear me and you are ready to take on the session. Mr. Alabi Opeyemi Olamide. All right, it seems we are not hearing or is not ready. Okay, so just give us a few minutes while he's being made a co-host. So before then, I would like to also mention that we are youths and indeed we deserve to be seated at the table because the future lies in our hands. So I would like to encourage every youth that wherever you find yourself, try as much as possible to be an example. Take the lead, and Nigeria will be better. Is our speaker ready, Mr. Alabi? All right. So, from
can I come in now? So sorry.
Okay, so we have our speaker here, Mr. Alabi. Please, let's welcome him with our warm emojis as he takes on the stage. You're welcome, Mr. Alabi. Over
Thank
to
you.
you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alabi Opeyemi Oladimeji, the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor of Lagos State on Youth Mobilization. And it's an honor to be here. And even though it is tight schedule, I believe that we all have the mandate to respond in time like this. So it's an honor to be here once again. I think I'm going to stop there for now, right? Until I'm giving my topic because honestly I've been very busy, but I just have to attend. Yeah, thank you. But I'm still much available online. Yeah, so yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you, Mr. Alabi. So, moving forward, we would like to have the general session by Mbokana. I would like to read her bio. Mboekana is an early career researcher, monitoring, evaluation, research and learning professional, and development practitioner committed to advancing inclusive education, youth development, and evidence-based publicity. She serves as male officer at Youth Hub Africa, supporting the design, implementation, and evaluation of programs focused on education, governance, civic participation, gender equality, climate action, and youth development. She holds an MSc in Cooperative and International Education from the University of Oxford and a bachelor's degree in History and International Studies from the University of Calabar. She has contributed to youth development initiatives across Nigeria, the UK, and India, working on programs supported by development partners, including the Africa Development Bank, UN Women, Malala Fund, World Bank, Action Aid Nigeria, Ford Foundation, and Resilience Foundation. Through her work with the MasterCard Foundation, Baobab community, Mboekana uses storytelling and thought leadership to inspire youth learning, leadership, and social impact. She is passionate about meaningful youth participation, education, innovation, and sustainable development, and champions solutions that empowers young people to shape their community. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to welcome.
Hello, Peter. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Hello, Peter. Can you hear me?
Hi, Wakana. Yes, we can hear you. Good evening. I
Oh,
think
okay.
Peter is
Yeah,
having
sorry.
issues. Yes, go on.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much, Peter, for that introduction. And good day, everyone. Happy International Youth Day once again. It feels quiet. So please, if you are interested to join the session, if you are interested to participate, please can you indicate that with a thumbs up or any of your favorite emoji? Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, good evening, everyone. I hope you are doing great this evening. Thank you so much, Peter, and the UN SDSN youth team. So, I want to feel some energy. Yes, I'm feeling enough energy. Yeah, thank you so much once again. So, it is a pleasure to be part of this International Youth Day 2026 webinar. And I am particularly pleasured to be joining the conversation on how young people can advance multilateral cooperation through innovation, technology, and partnerships. And I want to use this opportunity to extend my appreciation once again to Sustainable Development and Solutions Network for the opportunity to be a part of this conversation and also for organizing this webinar. But before I dive or we dive right into into the main topic of the conversation, I want to start with a simple question, and I want you to answer either by typing in the chat box or by indicating with your favorite emoji. So, how many of us have ever signed an online petition or joined a virtual training or participated in an international or national or even local fellowship or collaborated with someone or an organization to implement a particular project or my presentation. Okay, please let me know if you can see my screen. I hope you can all see my screen.
Yes, your
Yes,
screen.
your screen is up.
All right, okay. Thank you so much. So like I asked earlier, if you have done any of these things, whether directly or indirectly, in one way or another, you have already participated in a form of multilateral cooperation or global cooperation, because the aim of any multilateral system of cooperation is geared towards development. So I asked that question because sometimes we as youth, we limit the phrase multilateral cooperation to activities that happen in big conference rooms in big cities, realizing that even the little act or even the activities that we might think are little can also form a part of multilateral corporations. So cooperation across borders is actually much closer to our everyday lives than we sometimes realize or think that it is. So the question for today's conversation is how we move from individual act of connection to collective action through multilateral cooperation that can influence development outcomes. So, in order for us to have a structured conversation and discussion on the topic of today, so I tried to structure today's session into four main parts. So, I hope that I have enough time to really touch on the details of the different parts. So, we are going to start with understanding what multilateral cooperation mean, what it is all about, and also trying to understand whether it is really working or not, and where youth can come in. Then we move on to trying to understand why youth matter in multilateral systems. I mean, Peter mentioned earlier that youth matter, so we need to take a seat on the table in order to influence multilateral corporations in these modern times. And from there, we move on to understanding how innovation, technology, and partnerships can empower youth to influence multilateral systems. And from there, we talk about a practical action framework that youth can always adopt in their daily activities, especially when it comes to the implementation of development activities. So we move on right to the first part, which is understanding what multilateral cooperation actually is. So what exactly do we mean by multilateral cooperation? So, at its simplest, just like I said earlier, multilateral cooperation is just all about multiple countries and different stakeholders working together towards shared goals. I mean, traditionally, it was focused on government working with other governments. So, we can cast our mind back. I know some of us were not born then, but we can cast our mind back. I believe we must have read it in some history books that so after the end of the First World War, that was around 1919/1920. So the League of Nations was established. So we saw government working with government to prevent the outbreak of such a war. But in today's development challenges. It's far more than government working with just government to address the challenges. So think about the COVID-19 pandemic that happened in 2020 and how vaccines were developed. So the actors or the different stakeholders who came together to work for the development of the COVID-19 vaccine were more than government. So we had country government working in partnership with international organizations, with civil society, even universities and research institutions to contain the virus and develop vaccines. So just imagine the outcome of the COVID-19 if there were no different, if different stakeholders did not come together to exchange information, to exchange data, to exchange resources. So two of the major keywords in understanding multilateral cooperation are partnership and stakeholders. So we have countries, we have institutions, such as the United Nations, ECOWAS, and we have other stakeholders, including businesses, academia, CSOs, and youth networks. So you may want to ask yourself, why does multilateral cooperation even matter? So why does it really matter when we have countries, we have boundaries that that define the sovereignty of countries? So I do not want to dwell so much on this particular topic on why multilateral cooperation matter, because I mean, with a Google search, we can get a lot of information on why multilateral cooperation matters. But I'm just going to run through 5 key points that I put together to tell us why we think that multilateral system really matter in contemporary times. The first has to be collective action. Of course, today there is almost no development challenge that is unique to a particular country. Talk about poverty. There is poverty. There's no country that does not suffer poverty. Like, no matter how developed the country may be, there's always pockets of poverty. So even though a problem exists in one country, the impacts can always spill to another country. COVID-19 is a good example. Even the HIV, Ebola, and even the Middle East crisis that we currently have. I don't need to start talking about the energy crisis that has affected all the countries of the world as a result of the Middle East crisis. So multilateral cooperation is very important because of collective action. So because one problem or a particular development problem is not unique to just one country, so that justifies the need of countries coming together and even other stakeholders coming together to find common solutions to particular problems of development. Then another point is coordinated financing. So development challenges often require resources that exceed what only one government organization can provide. And so cooperation allows government and stakeholders to mobilize, but not just mobilize, but also align resources around shared priorities. So we have the SDGs today, and the SDGs is like a common framework that defines the shared development priorities of all countries, all networks across the globe. So with SDGs, we know how to coordinate financing and how or what area of development challenges to channel global finances towards. So another point is knowledge and technology sharing. Of course, different countries and organizations possess different forms and levels of expertise, data, technology, and even experience. So cooperation allows us to learn from what others have tried, rather than constantly starting from zero. So we have had a lot of development. The COVID-19 vaccine is a good example. So the vaccine was developed and distributed to every country that were badly affected by the virus. So imagine that there was no multilateral cooperation towards the development and sharing of the vaccine. So each country will have to start from ground zero to develop a vaccine for themselves. Technology and knowledge sharing for multilateral cooperation. Another is policy alignment. Of course, we have a lot of policy. We have the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Child and some other policy frameworks that exist. And even a lot of countries even adapt these international policy frameworks to apply to their country context. So policy alignment is one of the most important reasons for multilateral cooperations. Another is scale and impact. A solution that works in one country or community can have potential elsewhere. It does not mean that what works in country A will definitely work in country B. But with what works in country A, you can get an idea and also adapt to align with the country or your community context. So partnerships and networks can provide the resources and structure needed to adapt and scale that solution. So ultimately, multilateral cooperation matters because the problems are shared, resources are fragmented, and the expertise are also fragmented. So solutions must be structured in a way that different stakeholders bring in or pool their perspective or respective assets and resources to address a problem. So we have said a lot about the significance of multilateral cooperation, but what we really want to ask ourselves is, multilateral systems have existed for over a century, but then we still have global challenges that seems to almost outpace global unity for development, for addressing development challenges. Um, so, I what we may want to ask ourselves is multilateral system really working well enough? So, structured or formal multilateral systems have been in existence for more than a century, just like I mentioned. But unfortunately, we know that it does not always work as effectively or as quickly as we need to. So I'm going to give us instances. The League of Nations was established in 1920 to prevent the outbreak of the Second World War. But even Second World War broke out and was even more negatively impactful than the First World War. And we also have the Middle East crisis. We have the Russia-Ukraine crisis. And we also have pockets of domestic conflicts in different countries across the globe. And you find out that there are divisions within the Security Council of the United Nations on how these conflicts can be addressed in the different countries or in the different regions where they happen. So we find that the consequences of these failures do not necessarily remain within the borders of the countries experiencing the crisis. So I mentioned earlier the Middle East conflict disrupting global energy markets and even creating humanitarian crises that are now affecting the migration patterns of some neighboring countries around those regions where we have these pockets of conflict. So this shows that in an interconnected world, the failure to cooperate in one place can create consequences somewhere else. But I do not want us to draw or to go home with the lesson that the failures in multilateral systems shows that multilateralism does not work. Quite the opposite. Multilateralism is our best bet in addressing global development challenges. So the lesson is that multilateralism must work and it must work faster. It is not that multilateralism doesn't work, but the lesson is that it has to work and it must work faster. Why? Because the global development challenges are accelerating and we run a risk of global development challenges even outpacing global cooperation for addressing them. So this brings us to the central topic of today's session. Where do young people fit into this picture of accelerating multilateral cooperation to work better and outpace global development challenges? So we've seen that young people communicate across borders through digital platforms, through social media platforms. We form communities and shared courses without necessarily sharing an ethnicity or nationality. Let's take the NSAS protests in Nigeria, the even the Gen Z uprising in Kenya. All of these are pockets of examples of how young people have communicated. And it also reflects young people's participation in multilateral cooperation. So the question is, how do we as young people bring that energy, innovation, and even connectivity into the formal systems of multilateral cooperation? So, but before we answer that question, I want us to interrogate why do we think that youth matter in multilateral cooperation? Why do we argue that we as youth we need to take the seat on the table in making influential decisions that have to do with development programming that concerns our empowerment and our development? So, first of all, approach that. We are going to interrogate that from the demographic imperative. So we can see that when it comes to population, youths, like we are like the majority in when it comes to population. According to the United Nations, as we have seen on the screen, there are approximately 1.2 billion people age 18 to 24 years. And if we want to expand the age range to 29 years, we are now talking about 1.8 billion young people. In Africa, which is now referred to as a continent, like the youngest continent, we have 400 million young people. And coming back home to Nigeria, we have 60% of Nigeria's population to be under age 30. So what does this mean? Like, let us move beyond numbers to interrogate the numbers itself. What does it mean? It means that we say that majority carries the votes in democracy. So it means that we as youth, we take the majority. And as majority, we need our voices to be heard. So we cannot be treated as a small interest group that are being invited just on the sideline. So we need to be invited to development conversations, not just when convenient, but at every point in time. Another important reason is that young people are always the target population in development programming. Like if you find any in every 10 development programming, at least 9 is targeting or are targeting young people. So, what does that tell us? Young people are frequently identified as a key population that development programming seeks to support. So it raises the question, if young people are the people that we are designing these interventions for, how much are we involving them in deciding what those interventions should look like? So that is the question. If we are targeting young people in development, how are their voices heard in designing the programs? It's not a matter of we are designing it for the youth. So did we design it with the youth? So this establishes a very important reason why young people matter. As long as development programs are targeted at youth, it also a strong reason why young people matter, and it also shows a significant difference between designing programs for young people and also designing programs with young people. So I give an example. An institution may identify youth unemployment as a social problem, and they will go ahead to develop skills development program. But if we want to say do a survey or maybe in-person interviews with just do random interviews with young people that we find on the street, we may find out that the problem is not that young people lack skills. We may find out that it is not that young people lack skills. Perhaps it could be that they do not have access to finance to start up their own business enterprises, or it could be that they do not have professional networks, or it could even be that they do not have access to to job platforms that post job opportunities, or it could be that they don't even know how to use these platforms. So youth participation is therefore it does more than give young people a voice. It improves the understanding of the problem. So including youth in multilateral systems is not just about giving youth a voice. It's not tokenism. It's about understanding the problem itself. Because if youth are the target population, how do we understand the problem if we do not listen to their own perspective of what the problem is? So in as much as in as much as we have the CSOs, we have the government, and they have their different roles to play. So multilateral institutions could bring in the technical expertise in development programming. They could bring in institutional knowledge. They could bring in even the resources and even the convening power. But they cannot automatically possess the lived experiences of every young person that they seek to serve. So it alone establishes the reason why young people are very important when it comes to multilateral cooperation. So another reason that I would like us to focus on on why young people matter in multilateralism is young people as digital natives. So we often describe young people as digital natives, but I want to be very careful with using that term because access to technology itself is not equal for every young person. But when we think about how young people communicate today, build communities. A lot of communities, or some members of some communities, have not even met in person. So when we think about how young people build communities, even across borders, how they learn through digital platforms, even collaboratively, and how they work together remotely, how they mobilize around social issues, build businesses, and even create content for audiences thousands of kilometers, miles away from them. In fact, the largest consumers, I dare say, of digital technology platforms are young people. But then I think we need to start moving beyond seeing young people simply as consumers of technology. We have a lot of young people who are even creators of technology. So we have young entrepreneurs. We have a lot of fintech, edtech, and other platforms that are being developed by young people and are still being developed. So this creates an opportunity for young people to contribute to multilateral cooperation in two major ways. I would say first is developing solutions to global challenges, and also helping us to rethink how we collaborate to address those challenges. But then again, we may want to ask ourselves young people if young people are also now taking the lead in developing technological solutions to development problems. So how then are we still having the conversations of young people being excluded from development problems? So that also tells us that even as young people leading in solving or addressing development challenges, there's still a gap of young people, including other young people. But we will not go into that conversation right now. So but then I will like to state at this juncture that we should not see technology as a solution to the problem of development. Rather, we should see it as an enabler of solution. So it makes solution easy, but it is not the solution itself. So that brings us to the third part of our conversation today. So, technology should be seen as enabler. Technology should be seen as enabler and not the solution. So we have mentioned that technology has revolutionized how young people communicate, how they connect, how they coordinate multi-stakeholder action, how they scale solutions beyond one location, and how they even communicate ideas. So, but then we should also, I mentioned earlier on that technology also widens inequality, and we still have digital divide. It also leads to the widespread of misinformation when not used responsibly, and we still have AI bias. We have privacy issues. We have concerns surrounding cybersecurity, and I cannot even overemphasize how the harm this has done to young people, especially teenagers. So these are the conversations that we should also try to include when talking about the use of technology in multilateral corporations as enabler to solutions. So, previously, we mentioned that technology is an enabler and not a solution by itself. So that means that technology is only one part of the equation. So, a young person innovating a development idea or providing solutions to a development problem may need funding and may also need technical expertise. Having an innovative idea does not translate to solution. It does not also translate to impact. So there are resources that young people still need to actualize these ideas and transform them into solutions and impact. So a young innovator or a young person with an innovative idea still need funding, and they still need technical expertise. They also still need access to communities, policy support, networks, and even reach to affected community members, and even institutional credibility. So this brings us to the topic of partnerships. So, if a young person, of course, cannot get all these resources that I have mentioned, even if no matter how rich, a young person cannot get all these resources I have mentioned by himself or herself. So, it brings me to the conclusion that technology without partnerships becomes isolated innovation. So, and isolated is innovation is just as bad as not even having innovation at all. So, and this is because no single actor has all the resources. Even as rich as we think the government might be, they don't have all the resources needed to deliver development. So they may have the finances, they may have the expertise, but they may not have the trust from the people. They may not have the networks or legitimacy required to solve the technological problems. So this makes partnership building a very important soft skill that is needed for successful program design and implementation delivery in global system driven by multilateral corporations. But before we move into how young people can build partnership skills, it is important that we understand what makes up a partnership ecosystem. So, there are different actors, as you can see. There are different actors that occupy different positions, and all positions are very important within the ecosystem. And each brings something that others may not have. So the government may have the policy, they may have the public resources, the finances, but they may not have the lived experience that youth have. They may not have the innovation. They may not have even the trust from the public. International institutions may also have the financing and technical expertise, but they may not have community access. They may not have frameworks for accountability. They may not have the evidence. So you see how the different network of actors in the ecosystem have different resources, and each is very important in achieving any development agenda or priority. So, an important thing to note is that the strength of partnership is that not everyone brings the same thing. That is so you can't have money. I have money, and we don't have the technical expertise, and you say we should partner. What is the essence of the partnership? So you have to bring in what I don't have, and I bring in what you don't have. So that is what drives partnership. But I would like us to look at the partnership equation. So, this gives us a simple way of thinking about partnerships in the partnership ecosystem. So, we see that knowledge helps us to understand the problem and identify solutions that are likely to work. And do have this knowledge. CSOs may have the knowledge through research, action research, research institutions, universities may also have the knowledge. Networks help us to reach institutions, communities, and the target population. And who may have these networks? Networks, the CSOs may have the networks, and other youth movements may have the networks. Trust is also important because it determines whether communities and stakeholders are willing to engage. And without trust, participants may not show any interest in in any development programming. There is a project that I was part of, and we did a survey on how on how the citizens or the residents of Kaduna State see they are like we wanted to get their views of citizenship participation in the budget and accountability process. And one of the key things, or one of the key findings from that survey was that people are not interested in budgeting processes because they do not trust the government. So you see, if we have to bring any development programming, or if the government has to introduce any development programming revolving around budget and accountability, so you can only imagine the outcome of that, because people will not be interested as they don't trust that whatever inputs they bring will be taken seriously by the government. So trust is a currency in multilateral corporations for development. And so, what binds all of this together and makes all of this significant is complementarity. So, complementarity is you have what I don't have. And I have, okay, you have A, I don't have A, but I have B and you don't have B. So when we come together, we complement each other. So you are important to me and I am also important to you. So a university may bring research findings and expertise on knowledge, but a private company may have the resources, they may have the technology, but they don't have the knowledge that is needed to identify a problem or to even understand a problem. So none of the actors in the partnership ecosystem can work alone to complete or to address a solution. So it is very important that we work together to create something much closer. So I had to emphasize these partnership ecosystem and partnership equation, because we are having the conversations on how significant it is for youth to be included in multilateral corporations. So I had to bring this in so that to remind us that bringing youth in does not reduce the significance of other actors in the ecosystem. So youths are significant, but also are other actors significant, because without other actors, then identifying the problems of youth is needless, because we need other actors to address the problems that are being identified. So now that we understand what partnerships is, and the partnership ecosystem and the significance of all the positions occupied by the different actors in the ecosystem, so we may now want to ask ourselves, how can young people build effective partnerships? So I tried to develop a practical framework on how young people can build partnerships in multilateral in this multilateral world. And it is not uncommon for young people to believe that partnership building is simply about knowing influential people or asking organizations for funding, or just knowing we know one politician somewhere who is willing to fund our program. So that is partnership is not just that. In fact, there is more to partnership that is just like a tip of the iceberg when it comes to partnership. So instead of asking who can fund my projects as a young person, or who can fund my idea, so you should start by asking yourself, what can I solve? So if you're already having an ongoing project or an ongoing idea that you are maybe piloting or already implementing, you may want to ask, what does my project need? What can I contribute to the partnership, and who has a complementary asset that I need? So you may not need funding, but you may need community trust. So you may not have technology, but you understand the users. So these are the you will want to think you will want to think about the value that you bring, and also think about what is the asset that you need. So I know sometimes we often limit the resources that we need as young people in implementing our programs to just money, but there are a lot. You can even implement a program and get support without even getting like physical money, like money in the real sense. But you can get support in kind, that if you want to calculate the monetary value of the support you get, you find out that you've even gotten far more than you may have wanted to ask for. So we may want, it's very important that we develop as young people practical partnership skills. This is very important in if we want to be very active actors in multilateral cooperation. So what are those skills? So I put together a framework or some factors that we may want to take into consideration when we are talking about practical partnership skills. My apologies, my time is running out, but I would really want to go run through this. So the first is for us to identify stakeholders. Now, when I talk about identifying stakeholders, is not we have a lot of actors in the development space in multilateral corporations. We have a lot of actors. The space is even very saturated, but so it's not just working up to say, okay, this I like this organization because it is big. I like this organization because I admire what they are doing. Of course, that those are valid, but it is important that you identify the right stakeholders. Emphasis on the word right, please, and also understand their interests and their goals. So you don't simply identify organizations or people simply because you feel they are big or they have money. Organizations are willing to collaborate with people or with other organizations whose objectives align with theirs. For example, we may have an organization who focuses on education for the girl child, and you are doing and you are working on employment skills for higher education for university graduates, and you are approaching the organization for partnership. So the goals and the objectives don't align. Of course, those are two important thematic areas in development, but then the goals do not align. So before you approach a potential partner, it is important that you understand what the organization cares about. So you understand their strategic priorities. You check their website, you always find the priority areas that they work on, what problems they are trying to solve, what resources or expertise that they have that might be relevant to yours or to your program, and what you would gain from working, and also what they will gain from working with you. So the partnership is not just parasitic. So by parasitic, I mean it's not just one-sided. It is symbiotic. It goes both ways. So what are they going to gain from you in the partnership? And so this is very important that you communicate all these. We will come to communicating value in a short time. And so an important principle is do not approach partners only when you want what you need. You have to approach them with a clear understanding of how you will contribute to their objectives. And we'll talk about relationship building ahead of partnership. So let us take a good example. So okay, let's assume that you are working on climate, you're working on developing or empowering young people with climate smart agricultural skills. So instead of saying that, oh, you approach a youth organization that you're working on climate change, aiming to train young people on climate smart agriculture. So you tell them we would like you to fund our activity. May want to go into a bit more details to say that maybe you are working on you're working with young farmers to strengthen climate resilient agricultural practices. And so you also tell them that how it strategically aligns with their XYZ thematic areas related to youth development and empowerment. So we believe a partnership could combine your technical expertise with our community reach. So that way, you are telling them you need their technical expertise in that area, and you are also letting them know you already have the network, because it goes so you're going with strength. You're already communicating your strengths to the potential partner, while also letting them that you will need their expertise in this in the particular area that you have named. So you will also, so the third point here is building credibility. So I mentioned earlier that trust is a currency, not just in partnerships, but in the multilateral cooperation ecosystem. So organizations anywhere, even you as a person, you will want to work with someone that has credibility, that has reliability and has demonstrated capability to deliver on what they say that they will deliver. So as a young person, you don't it's not just about looking for large organizations. So you credibility can come from delivering on commitments, so meeting deadlines. So you reach out to organization that, oh, you had a meeting and you are supposed to share maybe an MOU by Friday, which you promise you will share by Friday, and by Friday there is no MOU. They wait till after 2 weeks from. So these are the little, they may not sound important, but these are the little things that show that yes, you are capable of delivering on commitments, meeting deadlines, being prepared, being transparent, communicating when something is wrong. So these are the different things that you can imbibe as character wise to show that you are building or you have credibility. So um, you can demonstrate. So credibility does not need to come from delivering or implementing big projects or national projects. Just small projects, even if it's just 10 participants and you deliver well with good impact and outcome, of course, that shows that you have the capacity and the credibility to deliver on bigger programs. So, another important factor is to communicate value and also negotiate mutual value. So, this should be broader than simply communicating effectively. So, communicating value is different from just the general communication skills. It is important to communicate what value lies or will lie in the partnership that you are proposing with another organization. So you may want to provide answers to what the problem is, what you are proposing, and why does your proposal matter. Like, why are you telling the organizations to even fund you? They may have other proposals in their emails, so but why should they leave others and partner with you? And why is your proposal, why is it important that we implement what you are proposing now? So based on this, it is important to develop the ability to communicate ideas, and some of the ways that this can be done are through clear writing, always being very professional in your emails, strong concept notes. Let your concept notes be clear, showing objectives and how you intend to implement whatever program that you are proposing, your proposals, even your presentation skills, and or even storytelling. So these and even other more of other features are the ways that you can use to communicate value. So we also have co-creating solutions. So when you reach out to partners and proposing partnership, it is important that you also try to get their ideas on delivering on that particular program that you are proposing. So, for example, you want to conduct a program to deliver mathematics education to teenagers in a rural community, and you are reaching out to an organization to partner with you on this. So you should also give them, it is assumed that you're reaching out to an organization because they also have an expertise in that area or they also have interest in that area. So it is important that you also get their inputs on how they may want to approach. So it does not mean that you go with what they propose, hook, line, and sinker. So you may, but it is important that you also hear from them and co-create. There's always a give and take in the process, but let there be a co-creation. So not you bring proposing and imposing on your potential partner. You should also demonstrate measure and impact in your partnership. If the partnership has already been sealed, when the program is implemented, it is important that you communicate what you did, the reach of the program, what changed, the evidence you have, the lessons you learned, and even what you think could have been done differently or what will be done differently in the next program. But if the partnership is not sealed and you have experience or you have past programs in the areas that you are proposing, you may also want to communicate impact in your past programs, and the lessons you learned and how you intend to approach the current one in a better way. I hope you are following. Please, can you indicate that with thumbs up or let me know if you can all hear me and you are following? Hello?
Yes, there are a lot of reactions already.
Hello? All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, thank you. So the last is how to manage relationship. So this is also very important. I know some young organizations or some organizations run by young people sometimes have this character of once the program is over, so that's it. So it is important to manage relationships or partnerships even after the program has been implemented. Send appreciation letters. This is very important. Share outcomes and also if an organization if your partner organization has achieved any particular thing, always congratulate, and also if possible attend events that they put together. You don't necessarily, even if you do not participate in the event as a partner, if you see that an event that they're putting together is something that interests or aligns with the organizations, attend the event, or even volunteer. If you can send some of your team members to even volunteer or participate in the event. So these are ways to manage the relationship and parties when where after a program have been implemented. So it is very, very important. I can't overemphasize this. It is very important because a program might be over today, but you may have another program tomorrow. And even if you do not have, so there is how this partnership also works. If you really want to study most of the programs that have been implemented in the development space, you find out that most of the partnerships are based on even referrals. So when you maintain your relationship with your partner, so you are keeping yourself or your name ever fresh in their minds. So but when communication breaks after the program have been implemented, and for a long time they don't hear about you, they don't hear from you, they can't remember that you exist. So, and especially if they have other youth networks or young people that they work with, and those ones are always in constant communication, they cannot remember that you exist. So, you have to always keep in touch with others. You find ways sending congratulatory messages on any achievement that they record, participating in their event, volunteering, participating in communities of if they are doing any capacity building, reach out and indicate interest to participate. So these are some of the ways that you can manage and massage relationships with your partners or potential partner. So I mentioned that I would like us to look at how to communicate value, and to do that, I put together this framework on how best you can communicate value to your potential partner. And I want to portray this communicating of value because this is like when you are making, when you're proposing a partnership, this is like the code after looking at, oh, you have a very innovative idea. Okay, so what is in for us? That is what your partners will ask, like in themselves, what is in for us? So how do we benefit from this partnership? So because you think that your partner is big does not mean that they no longer need value from whatever endeavors that they engage in. So um so your best bet is to communicate value as clearly as it can be. Otherwise, you risk losing any partnership opportunity even before it is sealed. So how do you communicate value clearly? A useful framework is, as displayed here, is through identifying the problem. So you want to ask yourself what needs to change. And I mentioned earlier, the problem you are identifying or you have identified should align with the thematic areas or the priority areas of your potential partner. So of course, if they will have websites. If the website is down or they don't have, check their social media handles. You get follow their activities so you get to know what particular problem that they are interested in solving. Also, provide solution. So, what are you proposing? Okay, you've identified the problem. What are you proposing? Don't say, "Oh, my potential partner is already succeeding in addressing this problem, so maybe I would just leave it to them to propose something." You have to go with something, and it has to be very innovative. Offer a solution to that problem. So you are proposing that, okay, I want to provide mathematics education to teenagers in rural communities, and I think the best way to do this is through conducting mentorship classes or mentorship programs or one-on-one or peer-to-peer mentorship to teach them mathematics. So think of something very innovative that it may not be entirely new, but you are bringing in something that is unique or new to your partner, but also has value and potential. And when you profile a solution, you may want to also provide how do we know that this solution works. So you may want to also provide evidence of similar solutions that have been implemented elsewhere, or you have even implemented. It's possible you may have implemented it in the past and you want to scale. So you need you need the partnership to help you to scale. So you can provide evidence, show provide your activity reports, provide even if it's video evidences, provide impact stories from your participants to show that this solution works, and more importantly, communicate value. So clarify the value you are bringing to your partner. So don't reach out to your partner and say you need $1 million, or you need this. Show them that you have, okay, you have peer mentors on ground and you have trained them. Also, you need a digital platform where they can access for easy communication between the mentor and the mentee. So just and let what you are communicating, let the value you are communicating not just be for you, but also what you are communicating is also valuable to your partner. So you come with your potential partner from the position of strength, not from the position of just deficiency. I know you need something, but also show that you have a strength, that you have strength somewhere. So another thing that you want to address is your ask. So what do you need from your partner? And make sure that what you're asking from your partner is what they have. I will want to state here that as much as possible, you may not want to focus on asking for money. So try to ask for something that money can pay for, but it's not money. For example, your partner may have a digital platform that you need for communication. But if you need that platform, you have to pay for it now, right? But you may want to, instead of asking for money to pay for platform, ask them if there is a way you can leverage the platform for your program. So this is how to communicate value. You identify a problem, profile a solution or propose a solution, provide evidence that the solution is working or has worked or will work or has worked somewhere else, and communicate value. What are you bringing? This is what, okay, these are the list of things that we need. So we have A, B, C, we need D and E. So you need D and E. That is what you're asking for. So you're presenting strength and also presenting a deficiency, but from the place of strength. So that way you are able to communicate value. And with this, you have higher chances of securing partnership. So we may now want to ask ourselves. So I believe that as a young person, um, we you have seen one or two or more problems that catches your interest, that you feel, oh, if I have the willpower, if I have the power, if I have the resources, I will want to address this problem. So how do we move from caring about the problem to creating impact? So this is a connect framework, that so I had to put this like in a connect framework so it is memorable, it is easy for us to remember. So so with this connect framework, we have choose a challenge. I So this is related to identifying a problem. So start with a problem, not just an idea like, oh, not just sitting and say, I wish I could do this. You have to identify the problem and identify a specific development challenge that matters to you or to your community. So, a good example could be that young farmers in your community may be experiencing low yields because of changing patterns in rainfalls, or because of flooding or erosion or whatever climate related challenges that it may be. Or it could be that adolescent girls are dropping out of schools in your community, maybe due to teenage pregnancy or due to poverty or due to child marriage or whatever factors that may cause school dropout. So you don't begin by asking, what project can I do? You start by asking, what problems need solving. There are a lot of problems. If you look around you, just commuting from my place of work to my home, is I see a lot of problems that I'll be like, "Ah, I wish I can do this." So there are a lot of problems. You need to identify which problem that you want to solve, and don't try to solve every problem. Trying to be a jack of all trade is going to cause death on arrival. So pick a particular problem, create a niche for yourself, pick a particular problem, and then design a solution. So you may want to ask, who is affected? These are the important questions that you may want to ask. So you don't just say, oh, because you've seen one person affected by this problem and you assume that you know the problem already, or one person has told you a story about the problem from first-hand experience, and you are now using one experience to generalize for the entire population suffering the same problem. So you may want to know how many people was how many people are affected, what solutions already exist. It's very important to ask this question. So in order to develop an innovative solution, what solutions already exist? So this, when you ask this particular question, it helps you to know what already exists and what you can do differently, and what has worked before, what has failed and why it failed, what you can do differently. And then don't assume that you understand a problem simply because you have experienced it or you know somebody that experienced it. There are a lot of nuances to the problem that you have identified. So you have to listen, investigate, and validate. So another is to observe with evidence. So I mentioned earlier about evidence, providing what has worked, what has not worked, was providing the evidences, what was successful, what failed, what made it successful, what made it failed, what can be done differently. So you will also want to consider that, and then nurture an innovative solution. This is very important. Emphasis on the word innovative, not an innovative solution. So I know sometimes you may think that innovation has to do with inventing or something that is completely new. But innovation is not just inventing a new technology or a new platform or coming up with something that has never been done before. It could be adapting an existing solution. So maybe one of the ways of keeping girls in school in Kaduna State was to incentivize education or to maybe have stakeholder engagement with parents or other communities. You might go to another state and you find out that the reason for dropouts in enrollment might be because that maybe the teenage might be because of teenage pregnancy, and that teenage mothers do not have the time or do not have the informal support systems to go to school. That is for a relative to take care of their baby, for them to go to school. So you may want to approach it differently. So those are similar problems, but then different approaches and different causes. So you may want to adapt existing solution, or you may want to combine existing approaches, or you may want to use a local knowledge in a new way. You may want to develop a better delivery model. But more importantly, you have to co-create solution with people affected. This is important. So we mentioned earlier that young people have they need a seat on the table so that the problems of young people can be identified. But it does not mean that because you are a young person, so you don't have to engage other young people or your target population to understand their problem. So because you're a young person, you still have to engage your target population to understand their problem. Now, engaging your target population does not necessarily mean that you have to meet them one after the other, or in person. There are a lot of ways. Could be surveys. You could even put together a network to meet them. So you don't necessarily have to travel to their location. You could put together networks who could volunteer to meet with your target population, engage them, and understand their problems. That way, you are creating the solution. So another is the network with stakeholders. We've talked about partnership building. So once you have identified the problem, you've nurtured the solution, you may want to start asking who has the resources, the knowledge, the networks, the technology that you need to address this problem. So we spoke about partnership. You may also want to engage technology. So the question is not how can I use technology, but how can you use or create genuine, or how can technology create genuine value for you? You don't necessarily have to use big technologies on your programs. You don't even necessarily have to use technology. So use it only when it is needed. Only when it is needed. You don't have, it could be just maybe survey forms, it could be digital communication platforms. You don't have to use big technologies or create a new technology before you can profile solutions or provide solutions. Also, collaborate across sectors. We've talked about partnerships, and collaboration should not be limited to just your existing partners. You could collaborate even with young people, even with other organizations in your network. So you could collaborate even with research institutions, even with government ministries and agencies. You could reach out to get government personnel to participate in your program, as we have today. We have the special assistant to the governor of Lagos State on youth that is here. So collaboration does not just mean just organizations or CSOs in your network. You can reach out to government ministries to send personnel or their staff members to join in and contribute to your conversations, because we need every actors and members in the ecosystem to participate. So collaborating with across sectors is not just limited to building partnership. And I talked about tracking and also demonstrating impact and measuring the outcomes of your activities. So you have to track and communicate impact in the impacts of your program. And this is very important because it's also a way of building credibility and trust.
Right. Fatima, thank you very much.
So the connect framework, so these are just basically questions to guide you on how to approach the different factors of the framework. So the first is to choose a challenge, is to nurture, to observe with evidence, I mentioned, to network. So these are just the different questions that you can use to guide your to guide you in building partnerships and also in delivering your development programmings in as you make efforts to influence decisions and also make impact in multilateral corporations. So these are the different questions to guide you. So we are going to, so I'm just going to close with a partnership challenge. So quickly in the chat box, think of a problem, development problem that interests you. Propose, how do you propose to respond? Propose a solution, and what will you do differently? I mentioned there are lots of already existing solutions. So what will you do differently? And who can contribute to something you lack. First of all, identify what you lack, who can contribute to something you lack, and what tool could help you, and what you can test in the next 30 days or in the next 2 months, or as the case may be. So with this, I've come to the end of this session. I'm sorry, I had to really rush through all the slides because of time constraints, but I am hoping that we followed. So I really want to extend my appreciation to all the participants that listened in. Thank you so much. And so I'll be happy to take questions now.
All right. Good evening, Mark. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, I can hear you.
All right. So thank you very much, Miss Mpoe Ikanabasi. I believe I am pronouncing that with the best of my knowledge. Um, so please, if you have any questions so far, just drop it on the chat box, and we would ensure that the question reaches our speaker, and then you would get your response. So moving on, we would like to have our keynote address. Um, So our keynote speaker, Mr. Alabi Opeyemi, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here with you. I'm here with you. I'm here with you.
All right, sir. So over to you, sir.
Okay. Once again, it's an honor to be here, and kudos to the organizers, the conveners of this wonderful program, and most especially to our last presenter. She did fantastically well. In fact, I came here to speak, but I was also learning at the same time. So I must give kudos to her. So I think let me just run through what through my own speech, my welcome address. I think I was told to talk about how young people embrace local partnership to drive sustainability. And for me, I think this I love this. I love this a lot because as a senior special assistant to Mr. Governor, I've been very passionate about the informal youth. I've been very passionate about local government. For you to know, how passionate I have been, I think 2 to 3 months ago, I organized a meeting between supervisors for youth, which some of you are familiar with, and many might not be familiar with them, right? They are like the commissioner for youth at the local government level. And that was the first time, anyone is convening them, uh, for a partnership. And after that, immediately we had another, meeting with them. With Inspired Youth Network came in, and when they saw that I engaged them, they were like, so we have, commissioners too at the local government level. I said yes, but I think not engaged with the state and the federal. And we have three levels of government: the federal, the state, and the local government. We need that partnership, which I think we should call synergy, right? As a senior special assistant at the state level, I feel like, oh, let me just gather these people, let's see, how we can work together. And since then, we have, been working together. Any opportunities at the state level, we escalate it down to them so that people at the community, can benefit. And again, we set up what we call community development association representatives. So we this technically means that we have youth representative in all community development association. Currently, I think we are at about 690 something, still counting. So I deviated just to let you know how passionate I am, when it comes to local partnership, because development is local. When you look at the statistics of the infrastructures that we have in Nigeria, when you look at the statistics of infrastructure like hospitals, like schools, like the rest, you realize that there's more at the local, than the state and the national. So it technically means even if the federal government, finish all their good work, let us assume the federal government do not have to construct road again, do not have to build hospitals again. If we are still not doing well at the local government level, we still be having deficit and we still be an underdeveloping, country. So now for young people, when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about sustainability, most times we think it's about international organizations, we think it's about global conferences, we think it's about ambitious policies and the rest. Meanwhile, as young people, for the type of energy that we have, for the type of zeal that we have, the local level, is one of the best place we can test them and we can deliver. And I love something about the last presenter. She was emphasizing on technology. Apart from working with Mr. Governor, I'm a software developer, and I know how technology, can be very, very important when it comes to partnership. Let me also divert a little bit. On the 3rd of September, I'll be launching what is called I'll be launching a global, youth infrastructure, which is called the Artificial Intelligence Youth Desk, which is meant to centralize opportunities, which is meant, to provide solution for a lot of people, right? So we'll be unveiling it, not launching it because we are still at the beta mode, we are still testing it, right? We'll be unveiling it on September 3rd, which alongside the program that we are doing, we want to bring young people that are in governance together for a discussion on how we can leverage on artificial intelligence for good governance. Honestly, the last speaker said a lot, right? She emphasizes on partnership too, because for me, there is no way you want to move without partnering, And for me, I think I was telling someone one thing the other day. I said, for me, I think one of the best opportunity a young person can have is to attend some events that can let you network. There's no way Lagos State can be better without all these local government getting better. We have what we call, which we all know, right? We have our state youth policy in Lagos State, and we have categorizations of youth. Part of these categorizations of youth, we have what we call the informal youth and the youth that live on the street. Where are they? They are at the local government level. So it technically means even if you take some people abroad for international exposure, for study tour, those people you left on that street, if you are not taking care of them, it means the local level will, there'll be unrest, right? And technically, it is doing what? It is affecting the state. So we must partner as young people. We must not see local as something petty. We must not see local as something that maybe we are above the standard. Local is the primary, it's the compulsory, just like you in an exam or and they tell you, okay, this is the compulsory question. So as young people, we need to learn how to partner with local government, not just local government. Under local government, we have the likes of community leaders, we have the likes of Yaloja, Babaloja, we have market women, market men, even young people that are the local. We have civil societies, organizations, we have schools, we have traditional institutions. So we need to harness that power and give those people a voice. Everything is not about, it's from the national, it's international. You know, I'm one of the people that I don't really love people bragging about being international, right? And I'm I'm also one of the people that I don't like people bragging about maybe they are from the state. Claim your local government. Where are you from? What have you done there? Claim your community. What have you done there? Right. For example, now we're having this program, this event that we're having now. We are all probably, state level or national level or international level type of people. But the question now is after this program, how do we escalate this, or how do we now take action to make sure that the young people that are in that our community, that guy that is selling, that has a shop, that Yaloja that is in the market, right? That CDA chairman, how do we make sure that we go down and partner with them and solve? You're very surprised that some of these strategies that we use at the state level that we sometimes hardly see results. If we apply 10% of it to our local government, to our communities, there will be a lot of change. For example, how many of us, join our community leaders to observe this environmental sanitation? How many of us gather together and say, okay, this community that I am from, this is the certain problem, maybe it is environment, maybe it is security, how do we tackle it? So we need to learn how to harness the power of the closest level of government, of the closest level, of environment to make, credible change. And, the last speaker has talked about partnership, so I don't need to really, dive into that because you need credibility, you need to be consistent, you need to think global, right? But, partner local, then because, for example, I'm from Ifakoja, a local government, I don't know who is from Etiosa, maybe someone is from in Salangua North. Once we take care of this community, technically we are taking care of Nigeria to go. So my final speech here is, as young people, we're never more than our local governments. As young people, we are never more than our community, because it is our community that made us. Nobody is born in Nigeria. Nobody is born in Lagos State. Everyone is born in one local government or the other. So wherever you find yourself, see yourself as a community leader. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Alabi Okpeyemi, for that very, very brief but very detailed keynote address. You talked about how it's very important for us to partner, especially in terms of like technological advancements and all of that. He also mentioned that there is need for us to attend events, conferences that would actually allow us to network with one another. So thank you very much to both our speakers. They've talked a lot and in detail about partnership, and I hope each of us take that initiative to network one organization. So we'll now take a few minutes to tell you about more about the SDSN Youth Nigeria and some of the initiatives and opportunities available within the network. Because for many of us joining today, this might be our first interaction with SDSN Youth Nigeria. So this segment is basically an opportunity for you to understand who we are, what we do, and how young people can get involved. And so I would like to invite the Deputy Network Direct Coordinator for the SDSN Youth Nigeria to talk about our initiative, Mr. Uju Oluwatobi. Mr. Toby, are you with us? Okay, since Mr. Toby is currently with us, so let's have Mr. Ajibola Oluwabukumi, who is the Director for Projects and Strategy.
Thank you so much, David. Please confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much for anchoring this session. It's been a wonderful one, really. Thank you so much, our speakers. You've done a whole lot. I mean, I'm just looking at everything that has been discussed, and I mean, my notes are full. My notes is really full at this point. But it's just very important for us to quickly talk about the SDSN Youth Nigeria and the SDSN Nigeria as a convener of this meeting. So, I mean, there are a lot of initiatives that we run, and it's important that even after this call, we're still able to do one or things together. So the Sustainable Development Solution Network Nigeria was launched in 2013 and is currently being hosted at the University of Ibadan. The SDSN Nigeria is actually the pioneer in Africa for the SDSN itself. The network created 5 thematic research groups around the 17 Sustainable Development Goal, and it encompasses people, planet, peace, partnership, and prosperity. We run initiatives through the year, and these are some of the initiatives that we ran this year and that you can also currently still log in. In the month of June, we celebrated the World Environmental Day, the World Environment Day with COYEC. So COYEC is the Conference of Youth on Environment and Climate. This is an annual program that we do. The next one will be happening again in 2027. We just concluded our SDG advocacy program cohort 8. Yeah, cohort 8. So this is something we started. I mean, over the years. So if you really want to learn more about SDG, you want to also be an advocate, you want to be a champion, just like what Mr. Rabi said, it's very important for us to localize all these learnings that we are taking in. It's not for us to, it's important to go global, but it's also very important that we localize all these learnings. So if you really want to learn more about SDG and how you can apply it to your local vicinity, then you should be on the lookout for the SDG advocacy program cohort 9. My colleagues was my colleague will also be dropping our social media channels in the group chat, so you're able to follow. And once you receive notification about some of this program, you're able to quickly apply for them. Currently, so I mean, other than running events and program, we also partner with several organizations, several, I mean, so several. For instance, now this particular program that we're running this evening, it's in partnership with Implementers and Youth Up Africa. So if you have any partnership idea, please feel free to shoot us an email or reach out to us via our social media channel. I'll be happy to take it up from there. The Booster program is an initiative that we're currently running with Chobaman SLA. This is a program that is meant to expose our females to digital training skills. So if it's something that interests you, the link will also be shared in the chat. Yes, like I said, we run several initiatives that runs across the year. So it's just for you to actually be in touch with everything that we do. Yeah, and just to mention, so the SDSN Youth Nigeria is the youth network, or let me say the youth arm of the SDSN Nigeria itself. And I mean, you can always follow us to get more to know about us. Thank you so much once again, everyone. I mean, it's been a pleasure hosting us for the past 1 hour, 30 minutes now. And I will not want to waste our time again. We'll be moving on straight to the closing remarks. So I'm transferring the microphone back to David as we conclude this session. Thank you once again.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Agiola, for that session. So, if any of you are interested in being part of the SDSN group, kindly tap into the different programs that we have. So, we'll now invite Miss Mosudi, Miss Ologunmaga, to take the closing remark, please.
Good evening, guys.
Good evening, ma. We
Good
can hear you.
evening. Good evening, guys.
Good evening. We can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. As we come to the end of this insightful program, I would sincerely like to appreciate everyone who contributed to making today's session a success. Thanks to our speakers, our partners, and also the moderator. You really, really did well, Peter. Youth advancing multilateral cooperation through technology and partnership remind us that young people are not only the leaders of tomorrow, but also an important partner in creating today's in creating today's solutions today. That is, we are not just the leaders of tomorrow. We are responsible in providing and also establishing sustainable things that will make our future a better one. And also for the younger generation to be able to learn for our own generation. And we shouldn't be able to do the mistake our parents did during our time. As we come to the end of today's program, I sincerely appreciate our speakers, partner, network coordinators, my partner Vijuan, and everyone who contributed to making this event a success. Thank you all for your time, participation, and valuable contribution. But as we wrap up this section, I would like every one of us to take at least one lesson from this, and not just leaving the room, not just taking the lesson or picking it up from the ideas of our speaker, but also to make sure we utilize those ideas into something valuable. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.